Would you do cocaine if a business deal was on the line? Like if they're about to close a deal for the Dana Donnelly movie series franchise and they're like, let's celebrate. And the executive pulls out a big line of coke and they're like, they snort it and they're like, you're cool, right? If we're going to be in business, you got to be cool. Would you snort it?
So I actually already thought about what I would do in this situation. And if I'm ever going to a big business deal meeting with bigwigs where I suspect that they might make me do coke to see if I'm cool, I'm wearing a prosthetic nose.
Midnight Milkshake.
Who wants to live in a house that costs more than like say $10-12 million?
Well, dude, this is always my thing because I'll get a lot of like house tour stuff, and I obviously will like watch all these shows with all these like rich people and these billionaires, and they're living in houses that are like $23 million, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's too big. They ran out of things to put in the house. It'll be like the living room will be like an aircraft carrier with like a rug and a chair in the middle of it. I'm like, there's too much space.
Well, I always say, especially if you're someone who like designs in the minimalist aesthetic, it's like, okay, if you have a really big house, all that's different about your house than like if you lived in a 1-bedroom apartment is that your walls are way farther away from you.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing, the only benefit I can see is, are you someone who's afraid to have walls near you? Like I'm confused. Also, I always say this, but I'm like, we have one body, right? Like most of us we only have one body. I can only sit in one place at a time, which again, when I look at these crazy giant mansions, it does beget the question, are rich people cloning themselves and that's why they need such big houses? Are there more than one of them?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I look at that and I go, as one person with one body, I cannot possibly fathom what I would do with like a 70-room house. A lot of these houses have like 70 rooms.
Also, are you scared? Are you scared when you're in your house?
It's
and
like
you know
most
there's
of it's
69
empty at all
rooms you're not in?
times. Doesn't that freak you out?
It's like a $50 million house. It's 70 rooms. Also, like you don't have that much stuff. Okay, all right. Living room, bedroom, bathroom, dining room, maybe a study, maybe a couple bathrooms, second bedroom, third bedroom, fourth bedroom, maybe a home theater, maybe a home gym. Guys, I'm still only on like room 13.
But it's also just so funny because you also see that it's like they have to invent hobbies that they might do theoretically. Like they all invent that they're like, well, throw in a bowling alley, throw in
the bowling alley one is crazy because I'm like, no one likes to bowl this much.
Bowl. Also, again, bowling is a social activity. What do you mean you need some lanes in a room in your house? Like, no, you don't.
I'm sorry. It is so funny to imagine like a super rich guy who gets a call that's like, the markets are down. I gotta go real quick. And he just like runs and he just like furiously solo bowls to unwind.
To get out of stress. But again, I'm like, in these crazy big mansions too, best case scenario is you have a bunch of kids and they grow up and they bowl and talk about how much they fucking hate you.
Well, that's why you have a big house if you have a family, if you're rich with a family, because they hate you and you hate them. You don't want them anywhere near you.
Yeah.
You want your wife to be cheating on you on one side of the house. You want to cheat on your wife on the other side of the house. And you want your daughter to be having a party in the middle of the house that you don't even know about. And you want your daughter's asymmetrical twin that you locked in the dungeon to be in the dungeon.
Asymmetrical.
Because that's why they locked them in the dungeon. They weren't born with facial symmetry.
Okay.
That's what rich people do.
Damn. And sometimes you're like looking at a picture. Do you ever look at pictures of rich families and you're like, oh, they're all really hot? It's because they locked the ugly ones in the basement.
You're about 1 second away from me. Like, I know that if I was born into a rich family, I'd be locked into the basement. And then they'd come down and they'd say, Dana, do you want to come out of the basement? And I'd be like, they're playing a joke on me. No, I want to stay in the basement. And then I'd be stuck in the basement.
Like, so what?
So what?
So what? And what about it?
And what about it?
And what about it?
Hey, if I were born to a rich family, they'd lock me in the basement.
And then they'd come ask me to leave the basement, and I think that it was a joke.
Okay, this is also something that reminds me of something that always would frustrate me, where it's like, here's the deal. I do not pretend to have lived a hard life. I really have not. I'm very lucky and very blessed. That being said, I don't come from like generational wealth.
No.
But people act like I do just because I look and sound like this.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be like, woe is me, because this is at best a very minor inconvenience.
Yeah.
But there'd be like other white guys who have an identical socioeconomic background to me, and they talk to me like they just got off a shift at like a construction site, and I'm like in from the country club.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're literally the same. I just talk like this.
You talk like this. Again, I think a lot of it is your eyebrows, clean shaven, hair product, fashion choices. But here's the thing, Midnight Milkshake listeners, and maybe you can tell, but I'm like, the sweater that Robert's looking is like, it looks deceptively expensive on him. Like, it's like, this is a $25 sweater
From Target.
It
was on sale.
But it's like, doesn't it look expensive on him? There's just something about you that has, well, again, I think it's also because, dare I say, maybe you are a victim of the early 2000s, every mean popular guy in a Disney movie, every mean rich popular guy in a Disney movie looks just like you. They all have blonde hair and like thick eyebrows. Like that was just like that is the common 2000s rich spoiled kid look.
Well, no one wants to hear any woe is me story out of me because I look like someone who would like walk up to like a poor family at a ski resort and be like, they're just letting anyone on the slopes these days, aren't they?
Yeah.
But also, it's important to remember, that's what but like those parts were played by actors who also probably aren't rich.
Yes, from like middle class backgrounds. Well, famously, Brad Pitt is from Missouri.
He is from Missouri.
And Robert's from Missouri. And
what's also crazy is, but like Brad Pitt has more of he's almost given the credit of like, he's like a rugged.
well, he has a salt of the earth role
quality
type that he plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But my point is like, actually, I think Brad Pitt might have been poor. I mean, dude, I don't know, man. Now we're comparing.
It's hard to say.
It's really hard to say. My point is just like, you get that it's free to wear you get that it costs $25 to wear this sweater and kind of talk with a vague Valley Girl sass.
Yes.
That's the only thing.
Anyone can adopt a Valley Girl sass.
Well, I remember one time I mentioned that I was making minimum wage at my job, and this guy was like, oh yeah, you're making minimum wage? Oh, I was.
He was making minimum
literally
wage.
Was. Like, it was like an office job. It was fine and fun. But I was. And I wasn't trying to get pity, but I was trying to be like.
Again, I think it's just that bone structure.
But also, I guess the thing that irks me, it isn't that like I'm treated like I'm super privileged, because I undeniably am. It's that someone that I know has identical privilege to me is acting like you could never understand what it was like to be me. I'm like, I am you.
Right. Like, we're the
you.
same. Yeah.
I'm you.
I guess
and you
like,
are I.
That kind of reminds me of like, I knew this girl and she would always, and she like was like genuinely talking to her sometimes gave you like how do you call it? Just like extreme cognitive dissonance where you're like, am I missing something? She was like hot and blonde and skinny. And then she would always be talking shit about girls who were hot and blonde and skinny. And she'd always be like, they don't get it. They're hot and blonde and skinny. And I literally would be looking at her like, I'm so fucking confused right now. But I think that there's something about like, sometimes you can't recognize in yourself what you're judging in others.
Yeah.
And I think like I genuinely, every time she would say anything about someone who's hot and blonde and skinny, I would be so fucking confused. Because I'd be like, you're hot and blonde and skinny. And then I would be like, sometimes I'd be like, blank, you're hot and blonde and skinny. And she'd be like, no, Dana, not like that. And I literally was like, I literally don't know what she means.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that relates in that sometimes there are people who go around and like they act like people who are identical to them are better than them. And then you hear them say that like, well, they're better than me. And you're like, wait, what are you talking about?
What?
But it's clearly just kind of an insecurity on that person's part where they see someone who's literally the same as them and they go, they're so good. Cool. What?
Okay. Did we already talk about this? Like, if you would do coke if a business deal was on the line?
No, yes,
okay,
yes,
right,
we have it. Okay, that's a good one.
Okay. So I've got a hypothetical question for you.
Okay.
Because obviously you're borderline straight edge.
Well, but this is my hypothetical question.
Okay.
I asked you. I made up the question.
Okay, but I was going to tee you up.
Okay, fine. Tee me up.
All right, I have a question for you.
Okay,
I have some hypothetical questions just to see what your response is.
Okay.
Would you, a relative straight edge lady, would you do cocaine if a business deal was on the line? Like if you snorted a line of coke, like if they're about to close a deal for the Dana Donnelly movie series franchise, and they're like, let's celebrate, and the executive pulls out a big line of coke, and they're like, they snorted it, and they're like, you're cool, right? If we're gonna be in business, you gotta be cool. Would you
So
snort
I
it?
actually already thought about what I would do in this situation. And if I'm ever going to a big business deal meeting with bigwigs where I suspect that they might make me do coke to see if I'm cool, I'm wearing a prosthetic nose. I'm having a prosthetic nose made before I go into that deal so that I can store the coke into my prosthetic nose, and I will be uninfluenced by the substance, but I can look cool because I'll be wearing a prosthetic nose. So I actually already have that thought out.
So you walk you walk into a business deal wearing like a big
No, prosthetic. It would be really tasteful and convincing. It
like
would be
Bradley
like
Cooper and Maestro.
I haven't seen seen that prosthetic, but it would be like really tasteful and convincing. They would be none the wiser.
A tasteful prosthetic nose through which to snort cocaine.
Through which to pretend to snort cocaine.
But also, how would you snort it through the prosthetic? Because like you would need to suck air. So would you have like a vacuum system installed?
Yeah, I think so. I would go to someone who does prosthetics and I would explain to them what I needed to do with the nose, and then I'd hope that they could figure something
So
out
you would
for
go
me.
to someone who does prosthetics. Someone who can put a vacuum system in a tasteful prosthetic nose.
A prostheticist who would sign an NDA.
And you know so many of those.
I
also like the idea of everything works, but the vacuum just makes a super loud noise. So you're like, cocaine? I'd love to.
Yeah, and then that's when you
Deal
guys,
closed.
That's when Hollywood will hear from me after my deal closes with my vacuum built-in prosthetic nose through which I've pretended to snort cocaine. The one time I've done cocaine, I told Robert this already. The one time I did cocaine, I went to inhale it and I accidentally exhaled on the cocaine. The cocaine went everywhere. And someone was like, damn, that was $80 worth of cocaine. And I didn't inhale it because I accidentally exhaled it and it went everywhere.
So you just went like,
I had the dollar bill or whatever. Maybe it was like a 20. We were rolling in it. And you're supposed to like inhale on it. And I think I just like kind of like, I think I just took a breath and I was like, I think that's exactly what happened.
someone's like, Dave, let's do some coke. And they hand him, I go,
Abracadabra.
abracadabra.
But yeah, have you done cocaine?
No, I've never. I was literally thinking this. I don't think I've ever seen cocaine.
You've never seen it?
I don't think I've ever seen it. I've like been to parties. I've like never seen cocaine.
It's just avoided your. Well, okay, they do say it's called the reticular nervous system, I believe. Where your brain only recognizes things that you've like trained it to recognize.
So I probably was surrounded by cocaine, and in my head, I wasn't even seeing it.
Yeah, like it's just like because it's how when you hear a word for the first time, it becomes ubiquitous to you.
Yeah.
Like when you learn a new word,
Kinda
suddenly
like
the word
ubiquitous.
is kind of like ubiquitous. When you learn the word, it's everywhere. I think that's like actually the same with so many things. Where it's like if I know a brand of shoe, well, the second that I learn a brand of shoe, it's everywhere. Like okay, I never knew what the Nike Cortez was until I started wearing them in 2015.
When do you start wearing the Nike Cortez?
I started wearing the Nike Cortez in 2015 and it's been my go-to Nike ever since. But before I started wearing the Nike Cortez, I had literally never seen a Nike Cortez. Like I didn't know that they had been like a shoe that was very popular since the 70s. Like
And
I
then
had no
you were
idea.
at a party and you walked in the back room and you saw that they were all gathered around a Nike Cortez. Lines and lines of Nike Cortezes.
Yeah, lines and lines of Nike Cortezes, and someone had a prosthetic nose on.
Yeah.
They were like, before I snort these Nike Cortezes. But yeah, no, I think that maybe you just, because you never did cocaine or because you were never trying to seek it out, you just didn't even see it when it was there.
Okay. All right. Here's what I would do.
Yeah, what would you do? Okay, Robert, if a business deal was on the line, would you snort cocaine?
So like you pretend to be the businessman and I'll be myself.
Okay. So Robert, we're really interested in working with you, but we just need to see that you're cool. Let's do a line.
You do it first. I like to watch. That way it's like I don't snort the cocaine, but they're like, well, this guy's clearly he's cool because he's clearly some sort of weird pervert. I'm like, I'm not going to do cocaine because I have a fetish for other people doing cocaine.
If you're a businessman out there who does cocaine lines as a test, let us know if what Robert is suggesting would work. And also let us know if you'd be off put by how loud my nose vacuum.
Also, it's like a bag is inflating, kind of like a hidden and like it's like hidden
in my stomach. My stomach is expanding.
Yeah. And then you're like, I'm glad we could do this deal. Now, if you have a trash can, I need to use it real quick. And you're just like lifts up your shirt and like shake out the cocaine dust.
I literally have a Coke vacuum that's like on my face connected to my stomach. The things you do in Hollywood.
Hollywood, baby.
Hollywood, that's Hollywood, baby.
Well, now they don't do coke anymore. They just do a bunch of like they like front load their coke. Now everyone has like front loaded their drug use in Hollywood, so it's like and everywhere. But yeah, not trying to make it about Hollywood because I'm still trying to make it in Hollywood.
Right. We're still trying to make it in Hollywood. That's why
we're thinking about every eventuality.
We're thinking about like what are we gonna do when the coke comes out?
Yeah. And will you use prosthetic nose? Will you use the fetish out?
Yeah, the fetish out and prosthetic nose out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely. I think as prescription stimulants have become more and more common, I'm like, are people even still doing the old fashioned snow?
Or what if when they're like, they go to me and they go like, smoke this or snort this so we know you're cool. I'm like, I have a better way to show I'm cool. And I'll just punch my arm through a window. And my arm's bleeding and I'm in pain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't play by the rules. Because there's a lot of rules against doing that.
Yeah. I mean, here's my thing. I don't know what they would do. But that's always an option, is to out crazy the crazy.
Yeah.
That option always exists. Like if someone's ever making you uncomfortable, honestly, your best bet always is to make them more uncomfortable than they're making you.
Yeah.
Like if someone is like, if a creepy man is hitting on you, no, don't hit on him back creepier. That doesn't go. That's not
if
it.
a creepy man is hitting on you, you fuck him. That'll show him.
Never mind.
But,
I think sometimes it
I'm
doesn't
always
work,
like, it's like if like your crush sends someone's to ask if you like them, say no. Be like, I'm crazy. No, I don't like my crush.
Oh my God.
And then when your crush goes with someone else, you be like, why aren't they with me?
I had such bad crush paranoia for so much of my life. Until I realized that the guy that I thought liked me did like me back. And then all my crush paranoia was gone.
Well, in elementary school, for the crushes that I did have, my move was like, I'm going to become my crush's friend. I was like trying to play the long game, but the reality is long game. You're in 5th grade.
Right. What's the long game? The end of the year?
Yeah. All this is over in May.
Did any of those come to fruition?
Well, no.
But also, what was fruition?
This is my whole thing. I don't think anyone ever had a crush on me, because also my crushes were all in the crush bracket.
Yeah.
And I was never in the crush bracket.
Yeah.
Anything crazy happen to you in 7th grade? That generally is a safe option.
Well, 7th grade was crazy because I was in the mental hospital for the back half. My second semester of 7th grade, I was in the mental hospital for 3 months. And when I was gone from school, that's when we learned about the whole Holocaust and also sex ed. So I never learned about the Holocaust or sex ed. And those are two very big gaps in my education. Yeah. Like I don't know anything about sex or the Holocaust because I missed the back half of 7th grade.
Yeah. So you were totally caught off guard when, like, on prom night, your date took you into a back room and started talking about the horrors of Dachau.
Yeah, I was like, where's Dachau? On prom night, it was just me going, what's Dachau? How many million? Just kidding.
Obviously, you're kidding.
Obviously, but yeah, so that's
those
what happened.
Pretty big units. Do you think they were actually trying to save them for when you were out? Because
they're like, maybe we should wait for Dana. Yeah, they're like, this is kind of important. Like, she needs to know about the Holocaust and sex ed.
And sex ed.
But no. But the sex ed unit was like, it was very graphic. I remember like I took one quiz when I came back, but I hadn't studied for it because I'd been gone. And it was like describing in detail the symptoms of every single STD.
My sex ed, I do remember in one sex ed unit, because it was like a unit every year. I got the case of the giggles and I kept laughing, and it was like the parody of an obnoxious kid.
Oh God!
I look back and I'm like, I wish I could frame it somehow. Because also in my own head, I like to mythologize myself.
Right? You're like, I was so much smarter.
As like a middle schooler, where I'm like, I was really smart and very funny, and you could tell I was always going to be smart and funny, but I'm literally just like, my science teacher says the word orgasm and I'm laughing for 30 minutes. For like 30 minutes.
Was she hot?
She was a nice lady. I'm sure. You know what I'm saying? It really, that wasn't an active thought.
It actually had nothing to do with who she was. It was just the fact that your science teacher said orgasm.
If it was like I guess if she was like a smoking hot science teacher. Again, I'm not trying to besmirch the science teacher. I'm sure she's a pretty woman. But no, in my memory, I can't even picture her face. So it's like her hotness level
is irrelevant.
I'm acting like it'd be offensive if I said I wasn't sexually attracted to my science teacher in like 6th grade. But
yeah. You know what's crazy?
I never had a crush on a teacher. I'm that fantasy. I never had that.
I don't think I had any crushes on teachers. I remember there was a teacher who famously was a creep. He did get pushed out for essing with students, sleeping. And I was always offended that he never made a pass at me. But also, who would make a pass at me? Because I was going around telling everyone, you know he sleeps with students, right?
It is funny that like you're to mask your embarrassment and not being a victim of a horrific crime. You're becoming a force for justice.
Well, I was a force for justice. I actually was a huge huge person that helped break that case.
To be fair, you were, it seems like, calling a lot of your teachers pedophiles,
I
even the
was.
ones who weren't
Who probably
pedophiles.
weren't, yeah. Mhm.
Every time they did something wrong, you'd be like, well, it's just because you want to crush your students. So maybe it was like the
Yeah.
girl who cried teacher pedophile.
Maybe I be calling lots of things, you know? I'd be crying lots of things. I'd be crying wolf. I stay crying wolf. That's true about me. I'm always, here's my thing. I'm right. When I say that like I don't like someone and they have a bad vibe, I am right a lot of the time. But what you don't see is all the times I was wrong.
Yeah. You're often like, I feel like that person's a wolf. They're totally a wolf.
Like that person's definitely a secret wolf. That person's definitely a secret wolf. And sometimes they are secret wolves, but other times they're not. And that's why no one ever believes me when they are.
Yeah.
Ugh. You know?
Ugh. Ain't that the way it goes?
Ain't that how it be? The last topic I had was when immature people do something crazy and then try to use your response as a way to be like, actually, I was mature.
Dude, here's my take. Someone being mad at you is not an acceptable reason for you to be mad at them.
Yeah. And Robert and I run into this a lot with me and him, actually, where sometimes Robert will be annoyed at me and then I'm annoyed at him for being annoyed at me.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not valid.
Well, I'm like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Because I'm annoyed at something you did.
Right.
Or like, you know what I mean? Like,
and I'm just annoyed at how Robert is treating me as a response to something that I did.
yeah, well, treating. I'm just being like, I'm annoyed. Like, you know, let's say that Dana left a mug of tea out on a table, as she often does overnight. Not a big deal, haha. But let's say she leaves a mug of tea out. I'll be like, picking up the tea. I'm like, hey, can you try to put your tea back? And you'll be like, oh my God, like there's a lot of things you do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Dana's annoyed that I slightly got annoyed.
Yes. And that is a, dare I say, childhood trauma response to adult figures making too big a deal.
But we're the same age. Adult
Well, yeah, but
figures.
I'm saying that the way I react, like I get really defensive when people point out small things that I'm doing wrong that like I could just simply fix. I get very defensive and I try to like flip it around. It feels like an attack, a real attack. Like when you tell me like, Dana, can you put your tea mug away? Like it literally feels like you're coming for my safety and my personhood.
When I say that this mug of half-drunk tea has been sitting on the table all night, yeah, I'm coming for your personhood. Your personhood is leaving the tea wherever you want for as
The
long
thing
as
is,
you
like,
like.
no, my personhood is not leaving the tea for anywhere for as long as I like, but my personhood is like, I get to do anything I want to do at any time, and no one is allowed to criticize me.
My personhood
And-
is I get to do whatever I want whenever I want.
And I know that's wrong. Like, I understand that's wrong, and it's something I'm working on and growing. It's something I'm working on and trying to evolve from.
Sure.
I am, and I think I've gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've gotten better at it. But like, no, like deeply, like when someone tells me something very small that I should fix, I get so defensive. And it's something I'm like, I know it about myself. I get so defensive. I'm like, how dare they try to change me? But you're right in that like leaving tea somewhere a little too long shouldn't be so integral to my identity. And yet, for some reason, it is. I
It
don't
is.
know.
And here's the thing that I've accepted.
Yeah.
It is. And when I say like, be nice of you to pick your tea mug up, no part of me expects Dana to go, oh yeah, I'll get that next time. I know. And I'm choosing to walk into the lion's den because that's me being a little shithead. That's me being a little button pusher. I'm a button pusher.
Robert is a button pusher, but what I realized was that I needed a button pusher in my life because
Yeah.
it turns out that I have buttons that should be pushed.
Well, I know that if Dana doesn't like to be told about her tea mug, there's part of me that goes like, you should tell her about the tea mug. And that's
Yeah.
my thing that I'm working through.
No, but
By
you
the
don't
way-
need to work through that because it's like
No, you don't need to
clearly
work
I need
through
to
your
hear.
thing. It's clearly
I
it's
need
part
to
of your
hear.
charm.
No,
You're a great
no, but this is
personality.
part of your charm too. You're a button
both
pusher.
be charming.
Yes.
This is like the meme where it's like
and
two-
no one had crushes on either of us in sixth grade.
And this is why.
And this is why.
Because our unlikable qualities we refuse to ever change.
Yes.
Dude, this is also, you may have noticed we have this like little
Present.
part
of our holiday
we
decor.
did. We were going to Target and we're like, hey, maybe we'll pick up like a couple holiday decorations, not full holiday. Literally, Target, dropped some dough, went next door to Michael's, dropped some dough. Man, we really went all out. You can't really see it. Because actually we had to take down a couple like little mini wreaths to hang the sign, but it's like we literally decked this place out.
We decked this place out.
We have a lot of like little mini Christmas trees that we put everywhere.
I got a giant nutcracker. It cost $66 and it leaves glitter on your hand when you touch him.
Yeah.
And Robert was very against it.
Well, because I was like, it's a big nutcracker.
It
and I was
is
like, we
big.
don't
It's
need a
heavy.
big nutcracker.
And we did.
Well, also then I was like, hey Dana, when she was like, I want the big nutcracker, I was like, hey Dana, how about we just get this little nutcracker? It was like a normal sized nutcracker. And she was like, oh, great idea. And she goes, and I'm still gonna get the big nutcracker. So I thought I was like compromising. We'll get a smaller nutcracker. Instead now I'm like surrounded by nutcrackers.
Well, we have 2 pink nutcrackers.
Yeah.
And thus our collection begins. I think we
That's
can
a
wrap up.
thread.
Okay.